welcome to the Onigiri & Co podcast episode. Today we are filmed, if everything goes well. And as you can see, I am with my co-host Lexi, Mayan Hai, and I'm with my good friend James.
Yay.
Hello.
No.
So it's brand new and hopefully it works.
I really hope it works because I have a lot of stuff recorded on it.
So yeah, well, we're trying something new. Lexi, in the last episode with Joshua Bardwell, sort of said, "Hey, girl, it's time to do video on this podcast." So I feel
I
like
didn't
we
say
have
that.
to
I
now.
just said I got inspired by other people who made me do it this way.
Yeah, and you made me do it this way, so it's great. James, last time I tried to record something, you were with me and it failed miserably. So maybe this time.
Well, and then you
For
managed to
this
reconstruct it in AI, which made it more legible. But then everyone struggled with my accent anyway. So,
Yeah.
you can't really win this game, I don't think.
I don't think so. But that's
You're
okay.
never good enough.
I'll put subtitles for you if you want.
Brutal.
Well,
If you need
anyway,
subtitles, I have a great app
it is
for you.
brutal.
Hear me out. I have
Oh
so
yeah,
many
okay,
new
all
apps.
right. You do, and you're the one who helped me finding this current software to hopefully bring this podcast to YouTube. So thanks, Lexi. And speaking of, no, not speaking of YouTube. I just wanted, yeah, actually, sort of speaking to YouTube. I've seen you, Lexi. You've just posted a new video, and it's FPV.
Oh, yes,
So what
I
about?
know.
Yeah, what about that? Can we all catch up a bit to like what we've been doing recently? Maybe you start.
Yeah, okay. So I'm currently in Bali, having a little retreat. It's not that little, it's like 6 weeks long, but it's still a retreat because I needed to spend time with like-minded people and other content creators because I never really had it in my life. And it's been really inspiring. I took my drones and I was like, I don't know if I will even fly. But to be honest, like they were so excited about FPV and they were like, come on, give it a try. So I did the maiden flight and I was like, okay, that like I have this thing that if I don't do something for like 2 weeks, and it's literally like 2 weeks on the spot, if I want to drive a car for 2 weeks, I'm gonna be like, can I still drive a car? Can I still do it? And it's stupid, and I know it because I probably know how to drive a car, and now I haven't driven a car for like 6 weeks, so I will come back home and be like, can I drive a car? So it's the same thing with FPV. Like I haven't done it for like a couple of months now, so I was like, can I actually fly this thing? Like, what if I die or kill someone and take someone with me? Like, what if it just goes to the skies or something like this? And it's just, I know it's just in my head, but still, it was a really big thing for me to fly again. And it was a whole big party in my brain. So when I started flying, I was like, oh, okay, this is great. And then I got excited because that was my first time with digital and walk snail. So I was next to this palm tree and I was orbiting it, I have it actually on a video just for the walk snail review, but throughout like a couple of good seconds, I'm like, look at this detail on this palm tree. It's great. And I'm just getting excited about this palm tree, just orbiting it like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Being like, this is great.
Understand.
And then I got the black screen of death and I stopped being that excited. But then I came back to this palm tree and I was like, this is actually amazing. Wait. So, so this has been a really exciting thing. And it seems like people are really excited on YouTube as well for me to do FPV again. But some of the people were like, oh my God, you're doing content again. And I'm like, I've been doing content every week for so many like months. Like, how can you not notice?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Well, I wonder if the algorithm was not showing stuff because it wasn't written FPV on the thumbnail and stuff like that.
Ah, that makes sense.
I've been watching your videos. I saw them all.
Thank
Me
you,
too.
James. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you,
just-
Nelly.
You got to
That really means a
subscribe
lot.
and hit the bell. Make sure you get the
Yeah,
notifications,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. I think a lot of people just believe that they are subscribed to me because they always see my videos everywhere. Maybe. No one knows. But
Because
thank you. That means a lot.
I get notifications too. I guess that definitely helps.
Yeah.
The reason why I see, but also you're my co-host, so it would be a shame if I was like, nah, don't watch her. That would be weird, wouldn't it be? But it's good that you've tried walk snail because that's going to be the main topic of this episode. We're going to talk a bit about HD systems. Like I said, I don't remember if I said it in a group chat or just to James. I was like, I want the vibe of this episode to be also just about, we're not experts in HD, none of us, because I think we've been late to the party. We don't always all have the latest system. James
Oh,
and I, we still, I mean, me for sure, I still fly some on analog. So, but I think it will be just interesting to have this little bit of big sister, big brother talk to people who are interested in maybe switching or know people who are entering the hobby. But before that, what's been up with you, James, recently? What have you been up to?
I have been a terrible, terrible FPV pilot, and
bad, James,
I've
bad.
spent most of my summer not flying. Well, I had a lot to do, and I've met someone. I've got a partner. I spent a lot of time with her over the summer.
Mm.
Yes,
Congratulations.
I chose girls over drones,
Ah,
and
No.
now it's kind of growing into winter, and it's freezing here. Like, this is the jacket, right?
yeah.
Um, and it's kind of moving out of drone season, so I'm a bit sad that I'll let up the summer months for that. But it was really, really nice to go out the other day and fly with Noah Lee. Especially, I think what really took, the icing on the cake for me was that there was a family there. They were interested.
Yeah.
There was a kid on a motorbike. He let us chase him. He loved it. He thought it was absolutely fantastic.
That's
And
great.
being able to
Yeah.
go back out after so long of not flying, I mean, it had been nearly 6 months, I think,
Wow.
and being able to connect with that feeling of, with the reason that we do it, right? Like, being able to just go and interact with people and have fun with each other, and just fuck around. We weren't doing anything that was. Oh, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, yeah.
Is this a G-rated podcast?
It's
I know
all
you've
good.
got Bot Grinder on here.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this ruined us forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting out a little bit more now that I know my batteries didn't die over the 6 months of neglect. I'm really looking forward to being able to take those sunny days, because it's been quite still here in Melbourne, which is rare. It's usually a very windy place. So I think
Yeah.
over the next few months, I'll maybe put some more packs in my bag and go out hopefully with Noah Lee, and maybe even fly in another kid riding a motorbike somewhere. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, that would be good. And interseason, like intermediate seasons in Melbourne, are a bit always windy or rainy. Once we're in winter, it's cold. It sucks for the pilot, but it's the best season for the drone because there's no wind and no rain. Because even in summer, when we're warm, there's still more wind than in winter. So I know it sucks for us physically, but for the drone, it's going to be perfect. So we can go back to that spot and
You have a priorities
other
straight.
places. Yeah. So that's cool. Well, I'm glad you came the other day. I'm sad you didn't get to meet Sam, who's my other FPV friend, who lives near that spot that I took you to, James. And he's a big reason I kept flying while you were on your big pause. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been flying. So I'm really grateful I have you and Sam to rely on when I want to fly. I know I can message one of you two and be like, hey, you want to fly this weekend? And usually when I ask, people are available because Sam flies a lot more than the both of us, James. So you will end up meeting him. And yeah, well, me, it's pretty much the same. I had not flown for 2 months because I had COVID and then I
Jonas, it
had the
is.
flu. Yeah. And then I had work, but it was really nice. And I share James' feeling having a little kid to do something different because I've been to that spot several times. It's pretty good. It's very versatile. Like you can go there as a beginner or as an advanced pilot. You will find stuff to do. There's like, trees and open space. But next time we can maybe fly above like a tennis court, basketball court. We'll have to explore this spot more. So it's going to be cool next time we go back. And then James spotted like a lake. And I'm thinking maybe we do that, but then you also saw that giant 5G tower or
Yeah,
something.
a lake across the road from a 5G tower is probably a little bit of a questionable place to fly.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll
Accident
test the
dangerously.
signal strength, not like over the land, before we fly over the water,
Yeah.
just to
That
see
makes
how it
sense.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. You've been flying above water, Lexi. I've seen it in your video.
Yeah, but it was really close to, well, actually those waves, they look pretty, but this thing is drastic.
Oh,
So I
really?
think if the drone fell there, I would never recover it again anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
the risk.
that was my
And you
second
can,
flight.
ah, that's good. But you can probably fly more when you trust more the system. Because I
I
know,
don't trust it.
yeah, that's why I want to talk about all this. Because I'm like, we all have maybe different opinion. I feel like Lexi and I was still pretty much on the side of analog, except you don't have analog setup left. Sorry, I shouldn't
Yeah,
laugh.
I decided to go like full throttle and be like, okay, I'm just gonna go with the time. And now I'm like, well, damn it.
So
Well, I have analog setups yet. I mean, I have the camera VTX combos somewhere in my drawer, so I'm totally
oh,
gonna like switch if I need to, but I'm
okay.
gonna be pissed then.
Yeah, fair enough. Because you have to rebuild everything. Well,
I don't want to
that's
think
what I
about it.
wanted to talk about. Because everybody has a reason to change to HD. So I was interested to first know everybody. What was your reason? Maybe we start with James because I think you were the first one to switch to HD. What was your reason to be like, okay, let's try this. Let's try HD. Also, tell me which system you're using.
So I picked up the Fat Shark Bite while it was still Fat Shark Bite before HT0 split off and started doing their own thing. And to be honest, the reason I picked it up was because they had a sale, and I'd been interested in it, and I wanted to get a HD system, and then all of a sudden it was a lot cheaper. So I grabbed it, and the first thing I did was I put it in a 3-inch toothpick because I always struggled with the quality of smaller cameras and lighter cameras, with analog especially. Just, the lack of the dynamic range with those tiny sensors, and very blurry lenses and things like that. And so I thought I could get something much better out of the SharkBite system, and at first I kind of didn't. So the first kind of run of cameras that they had they were okay, and there was a lot of that information going around where, it's just analog plus, it's not that much better, it's not really digital. It is, but I think a lot of that spawned from the fact that the cameras early in the game were pretty subpar, and then after a little while, Carl brought out his HD0 camera, which was the first proper one from him and RunCam, and I got the micro for my 3-inch, and that was a game changer. That camera was just leaps and bounds better than, I think before that we had like a Foxeer something or other and the original RunCam Nano, and both of them were pretty poo. But that RunCam Nano converted that 3-inch drone into the most fun thing that I had to fly. I was not flying my 5-inch drones anymore. I could take that out to the park, buzz it around, get excellent video quality. No matter what lighting conditions I was in, it was working really well. And from there, I was invested. That was when I decided, like, okay, this is a real prospect rather than just it felt like a gimmick when I first got the Foxeer Digi something. It didn't feel like a practical solution. As soon as Carl started to bring out those new cameras, and the firmware started to get better, and things really accelerated very quickly for them, I think. And it wasn't long after the 1-watt VTX came out, and I think it became a really practical platform at that point.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So how long had you been flying analog before the switch?
Well, I flew analog in like 2015 or 2014 when we had like security cameras that were just a board with a lens on it. You remember those ones? Yeah, they were good, weren't they?
The metal ones also.
Yeah. They're like the super chunky, heavy cases. And then you get like the Fat Shark VTX, which was like this huge big thing that your antenna would last like 2 flights and you just snap it. And so I flew that through to kind of I guess the more evolved form of analog, where we started to get diversity receivers, the True D and things like that. And
That was
I
a game
left.
changer.
Yeah, it really changed things. It really, really did. I remember even flying. I was racing, and it was an unfair advantage to the pilots that had those diversity receivers on a 25 milliwatt transmitter, because they were just getting so much better video than anyone else in the field. So it was a bit
Yeah,
like
that
you
was the
had to
cheat code.
upgrade. Yeah, exactly. And I gave up. I was out of the hobby for like, I don't know, 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, kind of digital had just started taking foot. Well, I still flew analog, and I still fly analog. I trust analog definitely more than the Sharkbite, like all the HD0 system, just because I know analog enough that I know when it's going to cut out on me. I can tell when I've gone too far, and that makes all the difference. It really changes. It really affects your confidence, right? Being able to know just how far you can fly before you are totally fucked and you're
Yep.
going to fall out of the sky because you've lost video completely.
Yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
it makes flying more fun when you just know, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly. Same feelings.
Well, because of what you said, James, I'd rather ask Lexi straight away your experience then, because I know you can relate. But same, like, if you can tell us, well, obviously you just changed, but how long you had been flying analog for, which systems you went through, and the reason why you've just changed now.
Yeah, so I started with analog more or less when James did, and we were flying those chunky, really nice metal cameras. They were great. I loved them. At least they weren't destroyed so easily. Um, and I was racing as well, so I was mostly sticking up with TBS, all immersion RC products. And I agree, Trudy has been a game changer. Then the rapid fire was a game changer. But then, in some of the circumstances, when some of the pilots started flying the HD0, I have seen that it actually helps them out because they see much more. Considering that at one point there were a lot of pilots that were doing HD0 or the analog, and at the same time, it was kind of messing up with the analog vision, I guess, because I was having really bad vision up to the point in which I was doing like a little corkscrew, and my spotter said that I would not do it because I haven't seen a thing. And he was like, "The fact that you went through this gate still not seeing anything, wow." It was just
Nice.
I remembered where the gate was. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna switch to HD0. And to be honest, like I flew HD0 in Adelaide on the racing like training, but I haven't been there too often. And actually, I was really annoyed that the HD0 had this extra add-on to the goggles, and I was using Orcas, and I needed a different cable, and this cable was kind of dangling there, and then it got really hard, and then actually the cable broke a little bit within 1 day, by the way, within 1 day, and I
Wow.
was really annoyed, and I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this, and it wasn't life-changing as far as I thought it's gonna be. And then I kind of left it somewhere. Like all of my racing quads still have HD0, and now I'm kind of like, what am I gonna do with this? So this happened, and then I got approached by the Walksnail, and they were like, "Hey, would you like to check our goggles in our new system?" And I was like, you know what? I need to go with the times and just do it. So I switched all the stuff, and I checked on the bench if it's working, and it did. So I took it with me to Bali because I literally got it like days before leaving. So I didn't even do a maiden flight. So the video that is on my YouTube channel is literally a maiden flight, and some of the people are like, "Why wouldn't you push it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a new system and it's a maiden flight. Like if you can push your stuff on the maiden flight, then good for you. I won't, because if I destroy this thing, then I don't have anything else for the next 6 weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you." So this first flight was actually, yeah. So from one side, I was like, this palm tree was beautiful. Like I was watching the footage of it later, and I was like, this is a great palm tree. And every time I pass through it, I'm like, you're beautiful. Anyway, so this thing happened, and then I had the black screen of death, and like With analog, just like you said, I know analog well enough to know when I'm gonna lose it. And I know when I need to turn around. And I know that at one point something's getting worse, so maybe I will start going back. With digital, it was like, you have it, you don't. And it was so scary because I'm alone. I'm sorry for saying it, but I don't really have a spotter that's like trained to do any of
Yeah.
this. And the spotter is like, what are you doing? Because I'm just going up. Because I'm like, I cannot see, so I'm just gonna go up because I don't know what else to do. And if I go far enough up, then maybe I can just take off the goggles and just ask my dude and be like, okay, where is it? So I can just land it or something like this. So that
Yeah.
was my thing. Now, it happens to me twice. That one, on digital I see a delay sometimes, so it stops and then it jumps in, and I don't like it because so many things can happen during this time, and especially when you fly in a pretty scary conditions or like closer to people, which is like, still I'm keeping my 30 meters distance, but still if I lose
Yeah.
the vision, those 30 meters are nothing. So I was really scared of this. So I'm not flying really far away from myself, and I'm not flying too fast because I don't trust the system at all. And now I was flying, orbiting myself more or less on the beach. And I don't know if someone turned on a DJI drone or what happened, but I was literally 5 meters away from myself, not more. And I got black screen of death.
Terrible.
And you see nothing. You know that you are on the beach. You know that more or less you are above the sand. What am I supposed to do? Because I was pretty low because I was orbiting myself, and I just
Yeah.
tried to kind of keep the sticks as I was holding them, but it turned out that I wasn't going up or doing anything. I just hit the ground, and it's obviously a sand full of iron.
Oh
So that was
no.
a great experience of cleaning those motors. And I was like, good that I have a screwdriver and I can do something with this. But I mean, if something just hangs up on me 5 meters away from me, then I'm not going to trust it to dive a waterfall with this because
Yeah.
I mean, what if I get a black screen of death while diving it? Like, I don't trust it, and I know that I'm losing so much really great footage here in Bali, but I'm not willing to risk it for myself and for other people because usually in Bali you can say like, yeah, it's beautiful and everything, and on the pictures on Instagram there's no one else, but trust me, there's a lot of people here
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not risking it because if I hit someone, I'm gonna just go to jail or just feel bad. Like I would probably, I don't know. I cannot imagine this happening. So I'm not going far away, and I'm not doing a lot of really great footage because I just don't trust the system. And I really wish that I left the second drone with um the analog system because I got the new Walksnail with two antennas on my freestyle drone, and the other one has just one antenna. And I'm like, if two antennas give me 5 meters distance before going fully black on me, I'm not even using this second one because I'm afraid. But
Yeah.
okay, rant over.
No, that's good to know. I'm glad you're sharing that. Because
Maybe
we
I just got something faulty, you know? So I messaged the Walksnail guy and I was like, hear me out, this is what happened, and I don't trust it, I don't like it. And they are taking care of it, they are looking at it like what is happening. But at the same time he was like, send me videos, and I'm like, why should I send you videos? Because it's weird when you record the DVR and it goes black, it just stops the recording.
oh
So you cannot really see what happened. You cannot see the OSD on the goggles that you see on the goggles. And it's like, it's nothing. And I'm like, well, that's not helping.
yeah. That's interesting that it also stops the recording.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. It
And
should
then
be
it
black
starts
screen.
again. It starts again after the black screen is coming back. Like you have a normal screen. But usually, like when it comes back, I mean, it's not like it's just coming black and back again. It's like 5 to 10 seconds. And that's a long time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. Well, okay.
Rant.
We'll come back to pros and cons of both systems. But
Sorry.
my guess is
I
that
just
you will have
ranted.
lots of cons.
I just ranted because I'm so pissed about it because I'm like, I want to go do the waterfall diving and stuff like this. And then I'm like, I don't trust it to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And do you think
Well,
if you had an analog quad and you could fly that in the same spot first and know where the black spots are with something that you are comfortable with, that you would maybe then use your digital quad, more like a
Maybe.
little bit differently because
yeah.
you've got an idea of,
Yeah. But
of the zone.
if the 5 meter away black screen happened because of someone's DJI drone, because there were a lot of them, then I mean, if you have DJI drones on analog, you just see white stripes. and you see that
Mm-hmm.
something's going on and you have time to react. Here, I didn't see anything. Like there's no like information or something like a heads up. There's nothing. It's just like off.
That's terrifying. I would be
Exactly.
terrified.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very
Hmm.
happy you didn't lose your drone that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could
I
or
cleaned
even
it.
just yeah, or even worse, like if a bat crash and then it completely like screw your motors, because like you
Well,
said, sand.
I hit the ground like 2 meters away from myself.
Oh, chopping those toes.
Yeah.
Chop chop.
Chop
That's
chop.
really bad.
It's just dangerous.
Damn. So are you just waiting on feedback from them at the moment?
Yeah. Because I sent them a
Okay.
lot of videos and I was like, here you go. Enjoy it.
Okay.
Tell me what's wrong with
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. All right. And you said your analog VTX and camera. Are they home in Ireland or are they with you in Bali?
Dublin.
Ah, damn.
Not helping.
Oh, maybe I just come as an express visit to Bali. Oh no, I have to go to Bali.
Or I'm leaving in
to
10 days, so it doesn't matter.
oh shit. Yeah. Okay.
We've still
I'm
got
not.
10 days. We'll book flights tomorrow. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, James.
Spend the weekend in Indonesia. Why not?
Actually, I can't, but James, you probably can because
I
Mia.
also cannot, no.
Oh, okay. All right. Me, I can't because
No
of
help.
visa.
Oh, yeah. I don't have that big of a problem, but
Yeah.
This is sad.
Well, that's okay. Hopefully, you sort it out on time for summer in Europe. At least that's something you're
Mm.
going towards summer, and you'll see how you go. I hope you get some more flights in Bali, even if you have to be safe. But
Yeah, I'm
to
trying, but not much. And there's a lot of people everywhere, so I'm not risking it. Especially that I now work with EASA and CASA. Well, CASA is looking
mm,
at me, but I work with EASA really closely, so I cannot do anything shady.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, and now we officially said that you have black screen of death, so people will be like,
Yes.
"Oi, you can't fly
Oi.
blinded." I never got black screen of death with digital. So the system I've been using quickly is DJI. Boo!
Ooh,
Just can hear.
hate that.
Boo! I'm not ethical. Ah, I make children work for my cameras.
Oh
Um, and the reason I started was people asked at the time if I could test the system. So that's back in 2019. I said no first, and then I changed my mind a year later. So I contacted them and they said, yeah, actually we can send you something with the latest camera they had at the time, which was the Cadix Vista. Because I don't think it was the first camera that came out with the DJI
no. No,
system. It
first
was like
one was done with by DJI. Then DJI stopped doing cameras and just gave it to Cadex.
yes. So, and then I thought, well, you know what? It's a great time that I'm receiving this system because Impulsas is coming up with their 3-inch and 4-inch, and just like James said, sometimes for smaller builds, analog is it's either not good enough or it's too big or too heavy or whatever. So I thought, hey, let's put DJI in this 3-inch, 4-inch, and it was okay. Like it was actually easy to build, a lot easier, because everything is in, like, you don't have to solder. You just connect it to your flight controller. It's just mini plugs,
Ah.
and I was like, well, that's a lot easier than analog when you have to solder all your VTX wires and you have to solder your camera wires and stuff like that. So I find that was great. And then the flying experience, I didn't know first that you had to do a sort of hack to unlock the power of your VTX. Like, it's not recommended, but you can hack it and do the 1200 milliwatt hack or something that I saw on Oscar Liang website. And once I did that, it was better, but I still got like frozen screen sometimes. If I took off too quickly and the
Yeah.
system had not time to I don't know, set up or something, it would be frozen and I would go straight
Dangerous.
in the tree because I thought I was moving, and then I'm like, shit, bam, tree. Oh, damn it. So it's really not helping. And on top of that, for me, I get motion sickness with DJI goggles. So
Oh.
those goggles at the time, after like a couple of flights, I have to rest my eyes for 30 minutes, otherwise I feel like I'm going to throw up.
You mean the big ones?
And yeah, the big ones. But
Have you
since
tried
then
the
for
small ones?
work, yes, it's so for work I've tried the ones that you get with the DJI Avatar, because now we get it. I mean, we fly FPV for work, so
Mm.
we're doing everything in HD, because I had started building Cinewhoops, in which I had put the HD system as well from DJI, because I knew we would prefer to use DJI because, or at least HD, because we work in like underground environment and lots of concrete, lots of metallic surfaces. So every
Mm.
time I actually was able to test HD, I was also bringing my analog drones, and I would fly both as a test for work underground. So even if, even if I would have rather flown analog, the signal was rubbish. Like I was flying a bit like you, 5 meters away from me on analog, and then it was all noise. But at least
Mm.
I wasn't surprised. I could see it coming, and I'm like, it's impossible to use in this environment. So let's use the HD, and at least HD, I felt heaps more confident, which is ironical. So that's why we ended up getting the DJI Avata for work, because it does what we need to do. I don't have to worry about building my drones, and it already has all the safety components like return to home and stuff like that, which when you
Mm.
do it for a professional purpose, CASA wants to hear that. They want to hear that you have at least a system that is going to always work the same, which I think my builds are not too bad, but I didn't want to build drones that I wasn't sure were going to behave every single time the same, So I was like, no, I'd rather have the DJI Avata, but it's the same. So with the goggles, I also get um, motion sickness.
Mm.
And if we want to talk about both builds, obviously my Impulse RC 4-inch on HD, the drone flies very well, and then it's flyable. There's always a delay, so as soon as I switch back to my 5-inch and it's on analog, I feel a lot more connected to my drone. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm turning when I'm deciding to turn. And with Yavata, you can't really rate that as a mini quad. It's a cine whoop, and it flies like a cine whoop. It's a potato in the wind. I don't enjoy flying it. Like, I enjoy flying it because I have something to film. I would never fly it. Like, I would never be like, yes, I'm going to the park with my DJI Yavata. Like, no, this is not enjoyable. But it's reliable. It doesn't crash, and it does the job for us. And we use post stabilization on it. The in body stabilization is pretty good. So anyway, that's my experience with HD. It's not really exciting. That's why I was glad to have both of your input on it. James, I could see you nodding when I said the delay is not enjoyable. Do you have delay with HD0?
Yeah, no. So, well, that's HD0, right? Zero latency. And that was the draw card for me when I was coming to picking a digital system. At the time, I could have gone and grabbed a set of DJI goggles and a Vista, and I did what everyone else does, and I watched Bardwell and everyone else's channel and learn about latency. And I remembered how we started, and with especially the original transmitters. I had a FR Sky at one point, which just had horrible latency, and even the video systems, like the cameras themselves. It wasn't so much the analog transmission, but the original cameras that we had, I guess, more but very similar sort of like of the high end of latency that DJI has, which would be like in your 20 to 30 milliseconds worth of latency. And not having that connected feeling with the drone not only made freestyle more difficult, I think it made it less fun. Like,
Yeah.
for me, the adventure of FPV is feeling like you're sitting in the cockpit and feeling like you're connected to this device, and that you are the device, right? It's an out of body experience.
Yeah.
And latency for me just kind of, it takes that little bit off that experience, that 20 milliseconds. It does make the experience of feeling connected to something less present.
Yeah. But with your system at the moment, if you fly back to back analog on your system, even though it's not the latest even system that is on the market. How different is it?
Definitely the HD0, I still don't have as much trust in. Um, with the 200 milliwatts, and the micro, I knew what I was going to get. I was never going to fly far. And it's a small drone, so I'll just fly at proximity. I fly it close to me, and that's fine. That's fun. With the 5-inch, with the 1 watt, it's definitely the penetration's not as good. So
Okay.
I can duck behind a tree or something and lose enough video that I lose my confidence and the fun factor is gone, and my butthole's a little bit more tense, and I want to bring that I want to bring that
There's
drone
just
home.
this fear.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
However, it is much clearer, and I think it is the future. I don't see those higher latency systems sticking around forever. I would assume they're going to evolve into something that's maybe even a bit more of a hybrid, so that we do have the option of no retransmission, of just being able to get packets directly to the goggles, and having something that's like sub 10 milliseconds.
Hopefully. Lexi, did you have time to feel any latency during your flights before the death
The death.
happened?
Yeah, I do feel latency. Because as a ex racing pilot, I kind of
Mm,
also want to feel one with my drone,
mhm.
and the fact that I feel that I do input, but I see that it doesn't react right away, it kind of gets me into the mode of yeah, because as I said, I really need to look out for the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the butthole feelings there, being like, if I
Butthole
do
feet.
something wrong, that's the problem. So this is a butthole feeling. It's just like, well, I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, I felt the latency. But I think what mostly makes me really scared is, like you said, when you start too fast and it just needs to catch up, and then you're already in a tree. Like you first hear that someone hit it, and then you realize it was you. That's not safe. And
Mm.
I was, I think, always advocating for the safety of the things that we are doing. So
Yeah.
this is something that's not for me because my butthole's not happy. Here you go. I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I can relate to
Um,
that. The sound coming after your vision is very unnerving. I did try a few times
Exactly.
to fly a DJI system, and doing a power loop and hitting the throttle to do a punch out to get up over something, and hearing it before your drone moves, it's because that power loop's only going to take a few milliseconds, right? There's not a
Yeah.
lot of time in there, and as soon as
yeah.
that moment of confidence is kind of twisted a little bit, you don't know if you're going to make that loop anymore. You might have
Yeah.
just put
Yeah.
your mate's drone up on top of a shed somewhere.
Yeah, at the same time, like I was doing this shot in which I was over the palm trees, and then I wanted to just go up and down straight to the ocean and just do really close to the waves. And then I realized that I have a delay. So I cannot
Mm.
really get so close to the waves. And then I was like, when should I start going up? How much power do I need? How is the delay right now? Because what if it just jumps and all I hear is a,
And then
you know what I
ah.
mean? Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't have enough confidence in it to make the shot that I want to make because I'm like, what if it has enough delay to make me from barely touching the waves into, well, I'm drowned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And also, I don't know if you guys are prone to motion sickness, but I do think that the delay in my case is what's making me sick, because you get motion sickness because your brain is expecting something. And
Yeah.
sometimes, because we've flown analog for so long, I know that if I know I'm supposed to go a certain way at a certain time, and I feel like my brain always tries to catch up because it's not matching my movement. It's I think my brain has been wired to know what I'm supposed to see depending on what my fingers are doing. I could be completely wrong, but because I'm very sensitive to that, like if I'm in a car, and I'm parked and someone is like going forward, so easily, so many times I thought I was the one going backward. Like my brain is very, very sensitive to what I'm supposed to do with my body. So I think that's what's happening, and exactly like you said, the delay is annoying enough, I think, to not only make me sick, but also the confidence. Everything you both said is just, it's not fun, and also the delay is not the same all the time with DJI.
Yeah,
um
but this
s-
brings another thing.
yeah.
We have the experience with analog. We have been flying analog for years and years with no end. The people
Mhm.
who are joining FPV right now and they join straight to this don't know any better, and they are more used to the fact that this is what happens. And they may
Yeah.
be feeling more in sync with their drone because they know that this is what's going to happen, while we are just scrambling for air, being like, this is not how it's supposed to be. Like, the old people.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk, almost as a last part of this podcast. After we do pro and cons, but maybe we can do pro and cons and conclusion in a row, like each of us.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had, because sometimes I have people coming to me in real life or in DMs. They say, "I'm just starting. Should I start with analog or with digital?" Because some people still wonder these days. Or I still get the questions. I've been on analog for so long. I've seen you've been flying DJI a bit and for work. What do you think of that? So I'm thinking maybe all of us, we can go a bit to the major pros and cons that we see, and then what you would recommend if someone was asking you tomorrow what they should do. So James, what would you say?
I would say if you are about to start flying drones, first, don't even fly a drone. Fly a friggin' simulator for like a
Simulator,
while.
yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Velocity
Then I
drone.
say go buy yourself a tiny whoop and buy an analog one and just fly that thing around inside until you break it, and buy new motors and break it again, and buy a new flight controller and break it again, and start to build up. I guess you build up your habits, right? Like, how often do I need to order things to stay in the air? How often, like,
Yeah.
how long do my batteries last? How soon do I have to think about charging them so that I can go flying today? And doing that, I think, with a cheaper, smaller system and one that's just more available because you can just fly it around your house. You don't need to go and fly in a big field to do it. Gives you it's going to make it more fun, right?
Yeah.
And
But
then
that means, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but your solution means they'll still need to get a goggle, like a pair of goggles that
yeah,
is analog. Do they need to start thinking of upgrading later, or like
well,
what
not
do you
not if
think?
they go and buy the new goggles from HD0 that have an analog module that you can stick right in the side of it. I don't own
Yeah.
a pair. I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely eyeballing that right now, hoping they'll
HD0,
send
feel
one
the
down to me.
same.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Carl, just to send me a pair of those sweet goggles. Um, and also, like, you can get analog modules for the V2 DJI goggles as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not as good. And I mean, even if you wanted to go the walk snail route, you can get the HDMI, the big kit that goes on
Yeah.
the front. It's clunky. I'm not going to lie. The HD0 thing hanging off the front of my goggles, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It doesn't sit on my face right anymore. It doesn't feel the same. Um, but it is a solution. It's there, and it's cheaper if you want to be able to do walk snail and analog, and just stick with maybe you can pick up a pair of secondhand Sky Zones or HGO2s off eBay or
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
I would say analog is the place to start as well, just because with any digital system, you're going to have. I mean, I can't speak for DJI. I haven't tried,
Mm-hmm.
but firmware is a pain in the butt. And I know we
Okay.
have to do it for flight controllers and transmitters and blah blah blah. But with video systems, the amount of times that I've seen or done myself, some firmware mismatch between I've just installed this new video transmitter in my quad, and I've taken my whatever version goggles out or my whatever version receiver out, and there's a mismatch. My OSD's all over the place, or I'm not getting any video, or my video is just terrible. Whereas analog, you're just not going to have that problem, are you? You're going to turn your video receiver on, and whatever that thing's blaring out, you're going to pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Mm.
So pros and cons roughly of digital versus analog according to you?
Pros: it's lighter still, it's cheaper, it's more reliable. Um, this is for analog, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Cons: definitely the quality's not there. Um, it, I think that's kind of it as a con for analog, right? Like it's just not
Yeah,
as high quality. That's what we went digital for.
The end.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
like you just don't get the fidelity. Con, the end.
yeah. And maybe not future proof.
Well, I guess that depends on whether
We don't
people
know
keep
that yet.
making the gear.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
now, there's still stuff that you can buy off the shelf and go and fly today. You can go and buy a brand new pair of goggles that have an analog receiver. You
Mm-hmm.
can go and buy thousands of different transmitters. You can buy so many bind and flies that are still analog.
Mm.
So I think it's way too early to say that analog is dead or going away in any foreseeable future.
Yeah. Even though, and you say that even though you are hoping we're gonna get HD with like
Oh,
low
I
latency and stuff.
definitely want it to get better,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a long road ahead. I think we're still kind of in the infancy of digital, really, and
Yeah.
that maybe think about how far it came between our CCTV cameras with
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
terrible receivers, the non-diversity receivers we started with,
Oh,
all the way through to rapid fire. So that gap was what, like 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'd expect digital to go on double that 10
Yeah.
years before we really see it come into its own.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah. Lexi, pros and cons,
Pros
and
and
what
cons.
advice would you give today? You know.
I would agree with James on the pros, being that it's reliable. I would add to it that you actually get a heads up whenever something's going wrong, and you can react to this instead of just having a little, you see nothing. Um, and it's lighter, much lighter, and much easier to fit into a drone. I don't know where I would put the walk snail in my racing drone, even though I'm using all-in-one board right now in my racing drones. It's like I'm not sure where would I fit it.
Mm.
So that's one of the things. The cons of analog is, yeah, the quality is not there, but at the same time, I mean, while I'm flying FPV, all I need to know is this is the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the tree. Don't fly into this. Yes, I
This
will
is the
not see a
grandma.
scraggle. Yes, I will not see the like little sticks and stuff. But I'm not sure. I haven't flown like in the winter yet with the digital, so I cannot really say if I will see the scraggle during using the digital. Yeah, con. That's the only con of analog. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. What I would say is yes, I also want digital to work really well and be really reliable. But this also requires us right now to buy more of the digital stuff so they have more money, so they can do more stuff connected with it. So it's all a process. And I agree with James. It took us like 4 to 5 years to get to rapid fire from whatever we were flying. And
Yeah.
just seeing that it's getting better already is absolutely great. And I want it to go farther than this. But I don't think it's going to happen this year or next year. I would like all of the pilots who have been flying digital only to actually feel one with your drone. I really
Mm.
wish everyone that, because that's a way different feeling than flying with a little bit of a delay. And yeah, I would say start with Velocidrone. Get yourself a tiny whoop. You can buy one of those kits with a radio and the boxed goggles for like $300 right now. So it's not a big thing. And then you know if you like it as well. And then it's up to you to decide if you want to fly the digital or the analog. And then it's also up to your budget. So what do you want to do with it? How much money you have to spend? And obviously analog will be cheaper, especially now Orcas may be cheaper after the Orca gate
Mm.
and Orca disconnect. I need to update my goggles, it seems, once I go back to Dublin.
Yeah.
And I agree, updating anything is a pain. Like I remember Joshua was saying that he is updating his Taranis as many times as possible. Whenever they do something, he updates it, but this is his job. I will not update my radio until something really significant happens to it. Like now I did
Yeah.
HTX, and I think I did it when HTX said that it will make my radio's touchscreen to work. And this is it. I have not updated it ever since, and I'm not planning to.
Mm.
unless they do something. Same like people were telling me, oh, if you have problems with black screen of death on your goggles, then maybe update them. And I was looking at it, and it turned out that I would have to also update the receiver, and I don't have a cable for this because it's in Dublin. So if I cannot solve it like this, how am I like people who are starting and they don't know that they have to update that stuff, and it's not on a really big card in a box when you open it. How are they supposed to know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I can assume it because I've been long enough to know that probably I need to update everything that I got, but still,
Mm.
it's like I'm not willing to. Like,
Yeah.
usually I do reviews all of the things that are being sent to me as if I was a beginner. Because I
Mm.
doubt that a lot of people who are super into FPV are just buying all the ready to fly stuff and stuff like this. I'm coming to it as a beginner. I have no idea if I need to update it or not, and it should be working from the box.
Yeah,
No,
because analog is
I'm
pretty
spoiled.
straightforward. Like James said, you will always, if you haven't
Yeah,
got magic smoke, you you turn it on and you see the image. It's
exactly.
simple, and so it's still very simple. And yeah, it like I said earlier, it's also a bit more soldering if you're ready to build your drone. Like if you're actually starting with 5 inch or 4 inch or not a
You can
Cinevook.
actually do
It
plug and play too. In most of the FCs, you have like the plug for the FC and the camera, and FC and the
Yeah.
camera gives you also the plugs, but there's like just a lot of cables there.
Yeah,
So you can do it.
but you physically see the cables and you're like, oh, it also even helps you understand. Oh, this is how a camera talks to a VTX, and this kind of things instead of having it all like hidden in a big mysterious box. So
Mysterious
I
box.
I agree with you both. Like I would still recommend analog. I wasn't sure 2 years ago, 2 years ago, because I was like, what if next year there's like an amazing system, that it's just popping out of nowhere because people have been working on it secretly. But now with what James said and looking back at how little the progress has been made anyway since HD has come out, I still think it's safe to spend a bit of money or the budget you have on analog. It's probably a good learning experience to also have a bit of that noise. And also what about the fact that sometimes you fly at a spot, obviously you see it with your eyes, and you see it in the goggles and it's this shit signal that we get, it's not amazing, but then you have your GoPro on it and then you go home and you're like, fuck, it looks amazing, because you had
Yeah,
not
the
seen it while flying.
surprise
The
and the
surprise.
excitement.
I think it's a good thing. And I totally agree with you. Pros and cons. If anything, I thought DJI is easy compared to what you both seem to say with updating and stuff. You still need to update with DJI, but I don't think it's as frequent as what you both said. And it's quite obvious because if you plug it to the computer, it tells you everything you need to know. So, yes, and it says in the manual, make sure you have the last version and all versions are compatible throughout your equipment. So if you even have the controller, it will tell you that the controller needs to be updated. So on that, they're pretty good. But to be honest, I really like what you said, Lexi, that it's up to the pilot to try to buy HD, to give money. And now that I am done with testing DJI, because now my work is using it, I don't need to test anymore. I don't think if I had to buy something now, I wouldn't buy DJI. I would buy probably HD0 because Vogue Snail, you scared me, Lexi. uh,
Sorry. I will let
um,
you know if it's just maybe I got a faulty thing. I mean, it happens, yeah, and it's
good.
absolutely okay. And in this
Yeah.
situation, I will obviously make a straight
Yeah.
up, but
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, I'm afraid of it now.
Yeah, but like at the end of this episode, if tomorrow I'm like, okay, I really want a cool HD system, I would probably go check, and I could still fly analog. So maybe it's something to think about. If I was going to advise someone, I would tell them my feeling. Also, I would tell them my budget because not everybody's on the same budget. Um, but yeah, I feel like we still all analog team, but
It's
we're
'cause
hoping
we're
for the
all
best.
old. We're too old for this hobby. We're
Yeah,
the
too
last
old.
generation.
Yeah. It's a
Brutal.
bit like Lexi said, the people who started on HD don't know better, and they probably solve the challenges that comes up with HD just like we solved our challenges, like ESC's on fire and like things
Well,
like
we
that.
got used to flying without really seeing that much because we still could see something.
Yeah.
it's much better for me than seeing just a black screen. Like if you got black screen on the analog, that means that you basically messed up or your drone is dead anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big challenge. Even if you're young, I don't care if you're 15. If you have black screen, it doesn't matter. It's just like
Yeah, like I'm used to like if I get a black screen, that means I hit something so hard that there is nothing left of my drone anyway. So when
yeah,
I got the black screen first time, my brain was like, did we crash and kill it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Black screen is dead camera. Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even if your battery ejects, you're still going to get the fuzz.
Yeah, it's the fuzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the fuzz, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we went around the topic. Like I said, a bit more like older brothers and sisters discussing their thing and be like, yeah,
You mean grandmas and grandpas?
yeah, grandmas and grandpas. I don't know if it's going to be that useful, but I wanted to just talk with you both about this anyway to update my opinion on the systems because I only know DJI and like I said, it's not my favorite brand in the world anyway. It annoys me that it's a good brand for professional reasons, if anything. But maybe in the
Same.
future there will be more options.
I wish.
We'll see.
Orca,
We should do this
Orca,
episode.
Orca are going to do something, right?
Yeah.
They got some HD
Ah,
thing
yes, yes.
at some point,
Yeah,
maybe.
they
Who
were
knows?
supposed to. They were supposed to, and then it was silent again. So
Hmm.
we'll see. Maybe they make it so perfect they will release it and it's gonna be the absolute perfection, and we're all gonna just switch to Orca and be like, wow, look
Yeah.
at this palm tree.
Look at this palm tree. Even normal tree.
So
Like when I
beautiful.
first flew DJI, I was flying at my local park and it was just standard tree, eucalyptus, and I was like, oh, I can see the leaves. Ah.
That was the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, I was mesmerized. Cool. Is that it? Are we done? Last
So,
famous
I think
words?
so, yeah. Last famous words. If you enjoyed this grandma and grandpa talk of FPV, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you can give us 5 stars, please do so because this helps us spread the knowledge and grow this podcast. So that means that more people can listen to our old people's wisdom when it comes to FPV and drones. So thank you very, very much for listening and doing all of those things for us. And also don't forget to leave us a comment on Instagram because Onigiri & Co has its Instagram. And yeah, we love you and appreciate you, and we're gonna hear you again in 2 weeks. Or see you, because this is a video.
Yeah, maybe now we see people. Who knows? We'll see. Season 4.
That means I will have to start doing my makeup.
Me too.
Yeah, I won't. James,
I will
maybe.
brush my hair next time.
Me,
Oh my god.
me too.
We're gonna just powder our faces.
I'll style my hair a little bit nicer for the next one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I promise to brush mine.
All right. See you soon, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Toodaloo.